All right, we all know if there's one thing that I'm not really a huge fan of, it's organized religion of any sort, especially the church. However, so there was a preacher in Ohio who basically has to go to court because he sheltered homeless people in his church when it was cold and it quote unquote broke the building code violation. And I couldn't help but laugh to myself about this because somebody actually does something that Jesus would do, and conservatives punish him for it. Yeah, I mean, it tracks. Basically, we all know that Christo fascists just really only want to use the Bible as a cudgel. It's basically just, bigotry and Bible drag. But when somebody who's not a nationalist does something that follows the teachings of Jesus, like the church is supposed to, then he has to go to court. I mean, I'm not making it up. It's fucking real. Just in like, I mean, this is the same country where they just found how many? There's like 215 dead black people just buried behind a jail in Mississippi, like it's fucking Mississippi burning still or something. And apparently, there were inmates that were forced to dig these graves. And then I think they're charging families to get the bodies back. What the fuck? Why is there not some serious investigation going on? But, obviously they investigated themselves and they did nothing wrong. 215 fucking black people just happened to show up in a mass fucking grave behind a jail in Mississippi like it's the most natural cause ever. It's just completely natural to find a fucking mass grave behind a jail full of people who just happen to be the kind of people where in the same state they had a movie called Mississippi fucking Burning. So, yeah. The best part about this whole conservatives and especially white Republicans love to say that racism doesn't exist. It doesn't exist. Not at all. All right, well, I suppose the Red Summer never happened. I suppose that there's absolutely no reason at all why the 1930s America First, excuse me, you know how it is when you're gaming, America First Party, that completely was comprised of anti Semites. Okay, I guess, but America's not a racist country. Oh, the best fucking part is when Nikki Haley says, America's not a racist country, and count it. 10 seconds later, and she says, well, growing up, I experienced racism, and it's like, oh my God, you just fucking debunked yourself. Not to mention, I think that there was a thing called Jim fucking Crow, which, by the way, if you didn't know this, but there was a German who came and studied law at the university in Arkansas to learn what the Germans would call Umwege, which is being able to move between the law, if you will. See, Germany laws are very, very, very strict. There's no wiggle room. Whereas they could see that in the Constitution, it can say that everybody can be free, but then there's also Jim Crow simultaneously. And they're like, okay, we can do that. And literally, Jim Crow here in America is what set up Adolf Hitler to create the Nuremberg laws. Also, the expansionism of the United States and wiping out the Native Americans is what inspired Hitler for Lebensraum. which means living room, which is the reason why they expanded into other countries. Because Germans needed more living space. Well, sadly, though, Vivek is getting his wake-up call, you know? I mean, he's getting reminded that he's not one of the good old boys. He went up into Iowa, and they reminded him of that. The best part is when, you know, I mean, people like Vivek and Nikki Haley are both like, but racism doesn't exist and America is not a racist country because, you know, they have to like cater to the, I guess, the cult, for lack of a better word, the MAGA cult. It's a good thing that, you know, I mean, there are people who are Republicans and they are conservatives, but they aren't MAGA. But we all know what the main majority is. Anyone who denies the fact that the Republican Party is inherently fucking racist, they'll get reminded of it. You just give them time. Like, take a look at the Babylon Bee. Go ahead. They said that Vivek could be the person that runs the 7-Eleven for the White House. You know, I mean, long as they can call him Apu or anything like that. So, I mean, there's always going to be people who want to, I suppose, play that role. But he's getting reminded real fucking quick who that party really is. And then you try bringing this up to Republicans and you end up getting fucking stupid retorts like, when's the last time Democrats had a brown kid? It's like, we had a black president. Show me how many Republican black presidents you've had. We'll wait. And another fucking thing. What the fuck's up with Moms for Liberty? Launching taxpayer-funded charter schools in South Carolina? What in the motherfuck, dude? Like, taxpayers' money should not go to your little secret institutions where you can indoctrinate children while projecting that everybody else is indoctrinating children. I mean, you're the ones with the fucking newsletter that right on the front it says that you need to capture the youth while quoting Adolf Hitler talking about capturing the youth. And then you open these fucking charter schools on taxpayer dollars so that you, under the fucking Moms for Liberty, Moms for Threesomes. What? Oh yeah, I forgot. You bunch of LGBTQ hatred. Sorry about that. Yeah, I forgot your LGBTQ hatred apparently just doesn't exist when the time comes that some other lady might want to fuck you and your husband. I mean, really, who's surprised? Show me a single time when some overly religious conservative group wasn't doing something so equally vile behind closed doors and making sure that they projected their feelings of guilt and insecurity onto other people because they can't deal with the fact that they have feelings. Anyway, and they have to spin all that into one big fucking hateful package and then, I don't know, launch taxpayer-funded charter schools in fucking South Carolina. And another fucking thing. Hey, it's a good thing that these courts determine who the last fucking harbinger of reality is, even though people can't fucking accept it. They'll literally gaslight themselves into saying, well, you know, whatever decision the courts came up with, you know, I mean, sure, you can disagree with it all you want. We have that ability, but they seem to think that that their opinion is going to change something that the court decided. They're so marked in their head in the same way you call, you know, marking out for wrestling. You know, they're marked out in their head for Trump that like literal, actual fucking facts in reality, it just doesn't penetrate.
The courts haven't approved it yet. If Trump goes to the Georgia court, if they actually put it on TV, then the people will get the real proof.
The courts proved when they went to show fraud in the election, the courts 60 out of 61 said that there was no fraud.
Well, like I said, the government's pretty corrupt right now. So I actually think that I think everybody will see in due time. The truth always comes out in the end. So let's just hope that God's in control. That would be the best thing.
The truth always does come out in the end, and the fucking truth came out. The court said that Trump fucking lost. Rudy Giuliani has to fucking pay. Jenna Ellis is fucking guilty. Sidney Powell is fucking guilty. Ken Chesbrough's fucking guilty. I'm sorry. You're gonna have to pound this shit over and over and over because these shit-eating morons, thank you, Tony, sometimes that just feels so good to say, these bastards just cannot figure out that their cult is not the law. Their stupid fucking religion is not the law. And when they try to make it the law, they forget that the First Amendment exists where it says that you can take your magic book and your dead dude on a stick and pound it smooth the fuck up your ass. Roland Martin really fucking nails it here.
On the slavery issue. How in the world can somebody actually say America has never been a racist country when we literally partition black people as 3/5 humans in the U.S. Constitution? How could anybody allow to come out of their mouth that we've never been a racist country when for 248 years black people were enslaved? How can anybody suggest that we've never been a racist country when there was the election in 1876, then you had the Great Compromise in 1877, which ushered in 92 years of Jim Crow, and we saw in this country this happen frequently all across the country. We saw 4,000 plus people. We can't even account for all of the people who have been lynched in this country. You had individuals burned who were tortured in the United States of America. We had individuals who were, this is a barbecue. We had Americans who literally went to lynchings like it was a picnic in this country. We saw individuals who, but because they either spoke to a white woman or because they actually owned a black business. We saw Tulsa in 1921, the race massacre. We saw Rosewood. We saw Red Summer coming out of Chicago. We literally saw in this country numerous race wars happening all across this country, and it was race wars. They lynched men. They lynched women. They lynched children. We saw what happened after Nat Turner. That is the country that we're living in. We sit there and we still have people today who actually were fire hosed, dogs sicked on them, trying to actually go vote. Black people who were viciously beaten. Nimrata, what do you call this other than racism? This is video from Bloody Sunday. Absolutely racist, fire cannons, folks who were beaten, John Lewis and others, beaten to an inch of their lives because they were black people who simply wanted to exercise the right to vote. You had a United States military Nimrata that until 1948 segregated troops in its military. There were race wars in depots where you had white soldiers and black soldiers. Nimrata, you are so dumb. Where Ethan McKaylee makes clear in his book on the Chicago Defender. Well, the United States government wanted to try black newspaper owners with treason because they were writing stories about racism in the United States military. One of the racist presidents we've ever had was Woodrow Wilson, who 2 blocks from this office on Black Lives Matter Plaza showed the birth of a nation. This man banned the hiring of black people in the federal government. You had Herbert Hoover, who was president of the United States, who was the head of the lily white faction of the Republican Party. You cannot sit here and say America was never racist. You had, of course, racism in education, racism in the military, racism in corporate America, racism in every facet of this industry. When Jesse Owens won 4 gold medals at the 1936 Olympics in Berlin, not only did Hitler not shake his hand, FDR did not shake his hand when he came back to the United States. And he was forced to walk through the kitchen at an awards dinner in New York City, where was there to celebrate him winning 4 gold medals.
All right, I think that's about I don't know. I can't say it much better. This gentleman could say it infinitely better than I ever could. But yeah, so there's going to be the gaslighting, there's going to be the deflection, because in the end, the Republican Party does not want to admit that they're racists. They're racists around each other, but then when they get in public, see, that's the thing. I grew up around racists. I even had some horrible beliefs taught to me at a young age, in which I held on to until I was old enough to finally learn for myself that I was taught incorrectly, mostly by being in the military. But yeah, they're fucking cowards. They won't say it out loud in public, but they'll wait till, you know, and look around their shoulder, and then they'll sit there and say the most vile fucking shit. And a lot of it, one thing that I discovered, especially, you know, from hanging around different, I suppose, economic factions within society, everything from extremely wealthy people to, you know, homeless people. I've hung out with them all. I've chatted with the likes and heard stories that you wouldn't even believe. And if there's one thing that always remains true, it's that cousin fucking toothless white people who have nothing but mediocrity and only themselves to blame for it, the one commodity they can always have is their white skin. And I believe this phrase is starting to become much more popular and much more prevalent, and that's when you've always had privilege, equality feels like oppression. And we're getting the usual backlash that happens anytime. I mean, the same shit happened after civil rights, the same thing, you know, happened during Reconstruction. We're just getting the same backlash